YouTube, what's going on? Doing another knife video here. We are looking at a custom knife. This is from a maker named by the name of Casey Gray, and he sent this to me for review on the channel, and I've been carrying it for the last week and a half, 2 weeks, using it, and it's a fantastic little flipper. So let's go ahead and talk a little bit about the blade. This is what he calls the mini Thylacine, is the model number. I guess not the model number, but the model that he calls it. So this is the mini version. There's a full-size version, and this is a mini. So this is 3.5-inch blade with a 4.5-inch handle. They are 100% handmade knives, so it can vary from knife to knife a titch because they're not CNC machine, they're not water jetted. Weighs about 3.5 ounces, so it's very lightweight. This one you can see has green micarta scales with an orange G10 pivot collar. S30V steel on that with a full flat grind. So that's kind of just the basic specs of the knife. Now, titanium liners, forgot to mention that. Titanium custom molded pocket clip, he bends and molds those himself, so that's a custom clip, works really well. And then it's got some stainless steel standoffs, I believe. They could be also titanium, I'm not 100% sure on that. So, like I said, full flat ground S30V, titanium liners. So let's talk a little bit about the knife itself. It's a smaller knife, which I like. That's kind of my, wheelhouse these days. I'm going to put it here next to the Hinder MP1. It's about the same size as that. It's slightly bigger than a small Sebenza, as you can see here. It's not sitting flush because of that clip. There we go. So it's just slightly bigger than a small Sebenza and a little smaller than the MP1. So there's a couple size comparisons if you're interested in ordering one of these from Casey. This one ran about $375 in the current configuration with the micarta and the pivot design, and then the S30V blade. I don't know that he's using different steels. It does have a somewhat of a sheep's foot Warncliffe style blade to it. It is got a nice hand rub finish on the blade, as you can see here. There's his logo, Casey Gray, there. And he did a great job. Now, again, these are handmade knives. These are not CNC machined. These are not, he's literally making these by hand, one by one. So there may be a couple flaws in the knife. And that's to be expected when dealing with a 100% custom handmade knife. It's not always going to be, everything's going to be perfectly cut, uniform. I noticed right here on the micarta, it's a little thinner here on the handles than here. Small things like that, not a big deal, and they can be expected. One thing about this knife that I didn't notice or didn't realize when I got it from how thick it was in the handle. It's pretty substantially thick, I feel. That was one area that I would recommend. Maybe it's a little bit thinner than thicker than the MP1, but not much. But compared to like a small Sebenza, it's quite a bit thicker. That's scale to scale, so you can see. You can see it's almost, 1.5 times as thick as a small Sebenza. So it is a smaller knife, but it's kind of thick, and some guys really like that in the hand. For me, it's not as comfortable when it's as wide in the hand as that. This is a comfortable knife, has good ergonomics. I would just like to see it slimmed down some. I'm not sure how you would do that. Maybe use thinner liners. It is a liner lock, as it is, and maybe use thinner liners, or maybe, the G10s, or not G10, the micarta is pretty thin. You could maybe even thin that down a little bit, but just kind of overall, the design is a little thicker in the handle than I like personally. But that's a personal preference. That's not a knock on the knife or the design. That's just kind of my personal preference. So the action on this is really smooth. It's on bearings, and it's got a great detent. He's really got the detent dialed in. It flies open, and you can hear that detent. Let's suck that in. Listen to this. So it's got a nice, solid, strong detent. So it flips really well, really quick, fast, has a nice action on it. Again, the handles are comfortable. They're just a little wider for my preference, but that's not, again, the ergonomics are good on the knife. They're solid. And for the price where you get for this, you're talking a handmade knife and a custom, $375, pretty dang good. Considering like this Liang Ma that I've got on me today, GSD, which is made by Riyadh Knives, is $425. And it's a production knife. So for being a, or this, I mean, here's another example. Small Sabenza carbon fiber inlay, I think these were $4.50 even, and or more, and that's a production knife. And granted, it is Chris Reeve, but, and same with the Hinders, these run about $4.25. So these are all higher end knives, but you're getting a custom knife for, and he can make this how you want it with your different handle materials and such. And he had a bunch of these at Blade Show, and I know a couple of my Instagram buddies, Stasa23, and I think Copper Dice, they both have one of these knives. So that's kind of what turned me on to Casey as a maker. And if I were to, you know, I'm going to actually send this knife back to him because it's his, you know, he just loaned it to me to do a video on. But I would, you know, there's a few things I would change on my personal knife, but other than that, the design is solid, and I like the size. I think the larger one might be a little too big for me. So my card is worn a little bit. That's just normal use. That's from carrying it in the pocket there. And the blade itself is a great cutter. I mean, very good slicer. It's got that full flat grind, very sharp. He put a really, really nice edge on it. See if I can find some paper. There we go. And I've been using this one off and on. I haven't stropped it or anything, so whatever edge is on, yeah, see, it's a nice, pretty sharp, yeah, very sharp actually. Very sharp edge, so he definitely knows what he's doing as far as putting the edge on the knife. The spine is somewhat rounded, which is nice to see, like a Sabenza. You can see there, they both have rounded spines. That's a nice touch that you typically only find on custom knives or high-end production knives. I wonder if this GSD has one. I don't think it does. Nope, it's pretty squared off. How about the Hinder? Yeah, somewhat. But, so nice rounded spine on that. Blade shape's good for EDC. It's nice, like I said, kind of a reverse Tanto Warncliffe. It almost has that Benchmade 940-ish type blade. Also kind of reminds me of this Insingo blade from Chris Reeve. That's one reason why I grabbed that. Or the MP1's sheep's foot blade. So it's kind of a mix of all those blades. Very, very similar blade shapes. I love that kind of blade shape for EDC. I think they make great, just for overall EDC tasks, really good. Like I said, nice hand rub finish on that. So overall, you're getting a lot of knife for your money. $375 roughly. This is what this one runs as configured. It could be less, could be, I don't know. I shouldn't say it could be less. Could be more in different configuration. But for being 100% handmade, you know, it's nice. One thing I would maybe do as well is have them skeletonize the liners to lighten it up a little bit. 3.5 ounces is light, don't get me wrong, but there's no skeletonization, skeletonization. Oof, that word was tough. Of the liners that could add you know, make it a little thinner or a little lighter, and then I would kind of thin out the handle a little bit. It's a little wide for my liking, but other than that, fantastic design. I think Casey is an up and coming knife maker. He's been doing it for a few years now, and he does it kind of like in his spare time, and said everything's handmade. So he's doing, I think, a fantastic job. I could definitely see him being, you know, picked up eventually for one of his designs, maybe by a manufacturer. I could see him getting, you know, more and more business coming his way. He has some pretty cool models. The one he did for Copper Dice, is his name on Instagram, is really nice. Go check out his Instagram feed. The carbon fiber on that one is sweet, and it's a little thinner in the handle than the micarta, so I like that. He's got a few different models of knives as well. So like he's got the full size of this. I mean, he's done some pretty nice looking stuff. Which one is this one? The doesn't have a title to that model, but I really like that one as well. So go check out his Instagram. There it is, KC_Gray_knives. His books are open. His email address I will leave in the description below, so you can call him or contact him and get a knife made for you. Thanks for watching, guys. Thanks again to Casey for sending this to me for review, and we will see you on the next video.